Hi, I'm Tommy Joe Moore and welcome to this DVD where we'll be looking at the Special Operations Executive Armed and Unarmed Close Combat Syllabus. From 1943, this is aligned to Eric Anthony Sykes' methodologies and ways of teaching, which starts to differentiate from the work that Fairbairn's doing with the Office of Strategic Services over in the US. So really exciting curriculum, it's really interesting curriculum, and it's broken down into 6 periods or 6 constituent parts. Sometimes these constituent parts were as little as 45 minutes in length. And you've got to imagine that people that are in the Special Operations Executives, they are normal, everyday people. They aren't crack elite commandos. They're not very young, fit fighting men. These are people from all walks of life. Men, women, old, young, fat, thin. None of these people really have a combat background. These people have this role for intelligence purposes. Now, their role might be in running radio operations, running logistical operations. They might have that role because they speak a certain language, second language, third language. None of these people are really paid to do much of the fighting. However, they are paid to do much of the thinking. And if they are caught or if they are captured, not only is their life very likely in jeopardy, but the lives of potentially hundreds and thousands of other people is likewise in danger. So as we start to move through the techniques and the curricula, bear in mind that most people would do a maximum of 6 periods of this material and have never really done any boxing, martial arts or self-protection before. Imagine typists, engineers, radio operators, socialites, elderly people, all this rich, diverse tapestry of life. All of these people are trying this stuff out for the first time, and if they have to use it, it means their life is on the line. The techniques that they're looking, this is a last chance saloon at escape and survival. And if you mess it up, or if you fail, the consequences could indeed be disastrous. So without further ado, we're going to be looking at the Sykes SOE Unarmed and Armed Combat Curricula from 1943. The first period is broken up into 2 constituent parts. That is A, the psychology and philosophy of close combat, and B, the use of the edge of hand as a primary striking tool. The first aspect to look at is the psychology of close combatives. It's really important to stress that this is a wartime methodology, and these methods are primarily designed to kill or incapacitate with danger to life. This is really important because for SOE agents, their single opportunity to strike back, fight back and escape might be very small and very, very fleeting indeed. Unarmed combat is what we enter into when we were foolish enough to not bring a weapon, or unlucky enough to have our weapon malfunction or be taken from us. No one should be looking to fight unarmed if at all possible. Everything from a rock, a brick, a stick, a kitchen knife, anything in between is 9 times out of 10 going to be a lot more effective than your bare hands. So it's really important to stress that if there is any other opportunity to use any other item, definitely use that item. However, there may be certain circumstances where your hands, feet, and your most important weapon, your brain, is the only thing available to you. Such as instances where your primary weapon is taken from you, you might be imprisoned or in the process of being taken as a prisoner of war, or any number of other circumstances, and therefore we must be able to use our mind and body as a weapon. There are no Marquis of Queensberry rules here. None of this is fair, none of this is gentlemanly conduct, and all of it is designed to help you survive and thrive, to escape and obliterate anything that prevents you from escaping. So that resolute mindset. And it's important to understand that it's not expected that you learn or embrace all of the techniques. Picking 1 or 2 and becoming very proficient is a lot more important. You need proficiency and confidence. And sometimes that comes from tedious repetitions and drilling. That is important, but you need to know and believe that these techniques can work, and they have been selected to be robust, and trustworthy, and to help keep you safe in the vast majority of likely circumstances that yourself as an agent in this instance will likely face in the field. So it is designed to be remembered, it is designed to be accessible, it's designed to be deadly, and it's designed to work for any number of body types against the type of enemy that they would face. Module 1, Part 2. This is the use of the edge of hand blow in close combat, and this is a primary close combat tool for the SOE 1943 syllabus. The edge of hand blow is striking with the area between the base of the wrist and the start of the little finger in this orientation and this orientation. It is an extremely robust tool. It's a tool that fits into small gaps. And if you think about things like helmets and greatcoats and backpacks and shouldered rifles, finding those small gaps of opportunity are really, really, really important. You can start to feel on your own hand, if you give yourself a few sharp edge of hand blows, just how powerful and damaging this tool can be. But its primary purposes are A, allow you to strike an enemy with little to no danger of hurting your hand, bearing in mind that many people using this material would have to operate radios, weapons, typing, writing, forging, fine skills that they need these hands to work for. So it's a hand-safe tool, it fits into appropriate gaps, and it is a mindset tool. It's a weapon that you can pick, decide, and deploy, and keep deploying it, and it flows very, very naturally. First, we're going to look at some targets for where this could go, and then we'll look at the delivery mechanism. So a primary robust target for this edge of hand blow, and we split these into horizontal edge of hand blows and vertical edge of hand blows. When we look at targets for a horizontal edge of hand blow, we have the front of the throat. We have the sides of the neck where the arteries run, so either crushing into the windpipe, smashing into the arteries. We've got the back of the neck, so again, looking at the brainstem here, the top of the spine, how can we cause maximum damage? So all the area around the neck, from the back, the sides, the front, is ideal territory for this tool. If you should find yourself in it landing on the temple, on the jaw, along the ear line, all of those things are fine and powerful too. The man-ending shots around the throat and neck, they cause serious significant harm and a high likelihood of death. Anything along the jaw or the temple or on the ear line is a really opportune strike for a knockout blow. And being able to scale the force up and scale the force down is a really important attribute to have. When it comes to the vertical edge of hand blows, there are a couple of methodologies. Key targets for this, whilst upright, may include the collarbone with a 1 strike or 2 strikes simultaneously. If the target is somewhat leant over, following a strike, the back of the neck is a key target area for this. Another tool or a space or place where you might deploy the vertical edge of hand blow is if any grip is taken, in which case you may decide to strike down on the wrist, on the forearm, or on the elbow. It could be that 2 hands are grasping, in which case we can still, with the right body mechanics, strike and clear both. So whether it's a singular grab, whether it's a double grab, or even if a strike is incoming. The strike is incoming. If we've got the right timing, we can crash this down. But it's very important to remember that the end game and end goal is always to essentially take that neck and that head off the planet. Anytime dealing with arms and limbs is really the means to the end. As soon as you can get to the neck, you should get to the neck. Don't spend too much time fighting and being entangled in limbs. We want to, like all good predators, get to the throat, get to the important bit, and get it done fast. So whether it is a vertical edge of hand blow or a horizontal edge of hand blow. We're going to look at situations where this may occur. So using our edge of hand blow. First thing to note, it is never just the power of the hinge of the elbow. It's never just arm powered. So as we pull out a little bit so you can see the footwork, if I was to preemptively, let's imagine I was offered a document check, if I was to preemptively deliver this in, it's my feet that drive it. All of my mass should go into this shot, and you'll see that I should end up off balance. Any attack that doesn't leave you slightly off balance means that you haven't put enough of you into it. If you look at a freeze frame of any famous boxer, that last shot is always off balance because it's putting every last bit of juice into it. It's the same with the edge of hand blow. So as we drive and step in, if we can step, brilliant. If we can't step, we at least need to drive and drop our body weight in. But under no circumstances should it hinge in. It's always got some weight carrying it forward, be it the weight of a full step, be it the weight of a gravity drop. All of these things are important. As you start to deliver the technique, make sure your chin is down. You'll note that at the fruition of this edge of hand blow, my chin is down, my centre of gravity is low, and I'm driving everything into the enemy here. If my chin is up and I'm struck while delivering it, yes, I might complete the blow and cause the damage, but if I get knocked out, the risk is still pretty bad for me. The last thing you want to do is win and fail simultaneously. That chin being down, that gravity being low, allows you to continue striking, grapple, or escaping. And if someone were to call freeze frame at any point during your techniques, you should be able to strike, grapple, and run. And if you can't do all three, you've limited yourself effectively. So every technique you should feel, can I run from here? Can I continue striking from here? And could I grapple from here? And if you can legitimately answer yes to all three, you will have successes. So let's have a look at some of these in context for World War II combatives. The first may well be a document check. So if you've got a jacket or a coat or other type of blazer, you will likely have pockets under the armpit. So if asked for papers, you might make a big show of looking for and rummaging for those documents. This arms your body with full readiness to drive in that edge of hand blow. That may be one such option. Another option may be tapped or grabbed and accosted from behind. Now in this instance, you don't really know where they are. If they're closer than you thought, the elbow will hit them. If they're in the mid-range, the forearm hits them, and if they're at ideal edge of hand blow range, the hand gets them. But either way, you can't know this. This is up for him. You know, it's going to be dictated from how close he stands. Your main principle is duck your chin, because as soon as that contact's on, something bad could happen. Duck the chin, turn in, and you'll notice that the elbow is high. I want to be able to clear everything here at all times. So whether he was here, 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 or all the way over there, I am clearing with a robust, sweeping shot. So if accosted from behind, this is very, very important. Drop the chin, drive in the shot. If I'm preempting from the front, you will use your verbals to disguise your movement. You may cough, you may sneeze, you may rumble for your paper, you may use distracting dialogue. But however you do it, when you decide to strike, your body should go with it. You want every last pound of strength behind that shot. You will very likely not be able to you have no idea if you're going to be able to get more shots off. This might be your one and only chance to survive, to escape, to flee, to finish. So why would you half-ass it? Why would you half-chance it? Put all bets behind that blow. Everything. No bit of weight should be left behind. This driving and dropping of the weight. If the enemy has been struck and you can get them in this position, make sure again it's not an elbow only strike. Lifting your weight up and making a robust step and stamp is a really great way to get maximum mass into this target. So again, with a bit of clearance, I've got them, bent over like so. And the ideal motion to get to is that the hand hits just before the foot. Simultaneously is okay, but in an ideal world, I want all the mass of the hand into the shot. You can absolutely also attack the kidneys, the spine, and other targets with this edge of hand blow in a vertical fashion. However, like I said, if the option presents itself for the neck, take the neck. Why would I take a kidney when I can take the neck? Your only consideration, if you did go for the kidney, would be as a lower level of force, and that may be appropriate for what you need to do. But in the majority of World War II combat settings and the majority of SOE contexts, the neck is your primary target. Horizontal edge of hand blow, vertical edge of hand blow, always carrying your mass forward. This is really, really important. And it's also important to remember that these can be chained together quite seamlessly. So you might start with an edge of hand blow to the front of the throat, vertical to the collarbone, and then finishing to the back of the neck. So blending your horizontal and your vertical, or even your double edge of hand blows to the collarbone, these are all things that are up for grabs, being able to flow from one to the other. It is essentially like having two machetes for arms and hands. Whatever comes in between you and the enemy, you'll machete it off. If a grab comes on, the machete is taking that hand and taking that head. Yeah? Whatever grip is coming in, if a grip is on, it's very likely that a punch is coming or a headbutt's coming. You won't be able to understand or decide which. It'll be too fast. Whereas the idea of like completely blasting, it doesn't matter. I've taken that immediate impulsive drive to deliver a powerful edge of hand blow to an area which is easy to incapacitate. It's harder to strike areas that are covered in muscle and bone. The throat is a weak area, and therefore we get a better return on investment from my initial blow. So edge of hand blows, they are powerful. They are intuitive from any angles, to the side, to the front, to behind. They allow you to carry a lot of mass with you, just like if you were playing tennis. Being able to move and hit is a really important skill. And just as important is accuracy. Knowing, I really want to crush that throat. I really want to damage this arterial pathway. I want to shake that brain and damage that temple. I want to break that arm. I want to rupture those kidneys. Knowing what you want to achieve at the back of it is really, really important. So accuracy, energy, and delivery of body mass are some of the key tools to a simple, safe, and wise edge of hand usage. So now we're going to look at kicks. Now, you've got to remember for the context of the time that the shoes are likely to be a lot more robust, they're likely to be constructed out of quality materials, and they're a weapon unto themselves. The construction of the shoe really predicates on how effective the kick will be. Majority of the kicks delivered in the World War II combative syllabus are much below knee height. They're never really striking anywhere above the knee. And we're going to look at some use cases and types and styles of kick. So the first we're going to look at is the use of the side kick, or the boot kick. And that is using the side edge of the shoe. Now, this is typically delivered in front of the knee, side of the knee, or in the base of the ankle. I will show an ankle version. Typically, we don't want to be turning side onto an opponent. It makes it much easier for us to be tackled. However, enemies may be frowned on our periphery. So if we're conversing and we sense that our enemy is over here, we might need to put in an interstitial strike. So with this, all we're looking to do is a minimum raising of the foot, and we're striking hard down onto the ankle area. We could have the same effect, accosted from the side, onto the knee, onto the ankle. Anywhere really is fair game. Predominantly, these techniques are done from being assaulted from the side. I've sensed the opposition, I've crunched down with that shot, and that allows me to follow through with other tools. You will very unlikely have the time to orientate yourself sideways and deliver a kick to an enemy without being rushed, punched, struck, grabbed, and if you hit the deck, if you hit the floor, this is very difficult. You may well win that initial encounter, but it will take time. So what we're looking for is a minimal raising of the foot and all of the weight down. You should have that massive impetus. Up, down. It's very difficult to do that on your partner, and it's very difficult to do slow. So get in the habit of lift, drop sharply, using the side edge of the foot. Lift, drop sharply. Lift, drop sharply. My advice is stick really to the ankle region. Another area where that psychic might be appropriate, if you find yourself in an upright grapple, and I've got the opportunity, I'm just off angle, is to raise, kick sharply into here. Now it doesn't show very well on camera, but there is a real tension on that ankle. It's that side arm blow from an upright grapple. We achieve an angle, raise and drop, crunching and cracking where we can. That can be from either side, stepping and dropping, stepping and dropping. This causes real trauma, but make sure you never compromise your own balance. The primary side kick usage, assaulted from the side, drop, and immediately flow into other tools. Other kicks that are useful include, at an upright grapple, a purring style kick. What we're going to be doing is using the side of the foot to place in there. Don't swing too hard, get it placed till you feel contact, and then scrape and smash. If you try and swing too hard and miss, you'll be very off balance. So get used to the idea that I've just found the leg, fantastic, scrape and drop. Find the leg, scrape and drop. Find the leg, scrape and drop. And finally, we've got quite a simple usage of the front toe of the boot. Now this is to gain psychological distraction. I might drive that hard into the base of the foot, and the base of the knee. This is causing short, sharp pain, which might allow you to make space for a hand tool. If it starts to get too messy up top as a grapple, that toe kick to the knee, to the ankle, to the fork using the shin. So between the legs, these may be options. The place, scrape and stomp, or the off angle side kick. The World War II techniques for the boot tend to work very well from an attached position. You can keep your balance, whether there may be occurrences, but let's imagine I've been struck, bang, I'm already in a position where my hand tools aren't great, bang, I can drive those shots in. It's also as a follow-up to being assaulted, I'm already turned on. But be very, very prudent against, or advised against, turning side arm if you can help it. You will very rarely have the time to deliver that kick. They're much more a secondary tool. So, side kicks, land and stop, or the use of the toe in general. They should all make contact, they should all cause damage, and you'll note there is primary and secondary damage. The primary damage comes here, bang, the secondary is a scrape, and then another primary damage is breaking the bones of the foot. So, damage, pain, damage. All of these should have solid effect. Kicks very rarely end the encounter, but allow you to make the space with which your hand tools can finish the job. The next blow we're going to be looking at is the use of the chin jab. The chin jab uses the hard central part of the palm. The hands are spread apart as if you're carrying, say, a grapefruit or the large orange, whatever, you know, that same tension. Not that you would crush it and not that you would drop it. That same level of tension. And we're hitting dead center. The rest is like chicken bones in a leather sack. It's not useful. This is really the base of the wrist bow, the chin jab. The chin jab is delivered with the same momentum that an uppercut would delivered by. At the same range, then uppercut would be delivered by. What we're going to be looking to do is slam the inner part of the forearm close so it hits the chest. Bang! And we're going to hit under the jaw. Once we've hit under the jaw, we may decide to roll the fingers into the eyes to drive them away, to drive them down, or to scrape down. But in either instance, this is a hyper close range shot. Your hip and your foot, everything travels with you. So again, from a conversational stance, the chin jab hits in and up, and then it's the job of the fingers to rip and push and maul. Against your hand, and you can practice this against your hand, hold your hand like so. You notice that the hip and the foot all work together. Bang! And this could be with either hand. 1, 2. You can be delivered in combination. 1, 2. It's very important that you do this at hyper close range. Don't reach for it. It's not a straight palm strike. It is up close. Bang! It's also never a push. It is always a strike. It's always designed to rattle that head. It's designed to shake the brain, to cause a knockout. It's designed to cause damage to the back of the neck. It's really important, if we bring it a little bit closer, if I hit and the fingers are here, the impact of the head is down on the deck. I want the person to land head first if I can. We're going to be looking at the classical use of the chin jab, which is unattached, so that's without holding. Up, up, up. Super close range from here. The borderline grappling range. That comes in, and then the use of the fingers. The trajectory of the elbow after the initial strike is important. You don't want to target the eyes with the elbow down. You won't reach for it. As soon as I've used all the energy in the strike and the elbow comes up, it's a lot easier to drive those fingers into the eye socket. And that has a really important job, because when the fingers are in the eyes, the enemy's mind isn't on accessing their weapons or fighting back. Their whole universe is, I don't want my retinas to be ripped out. And that's what we want them to be thinking. We don't want them thinking of tools, weapons, anything like that. You want them thinking of survival. Some context for this, again, might be showing documents. Documents over here. Once the documents have been observed, if they're observing a bit too long, bang! That chin jab comes in and you cause the damage. It may well be that I've been accosted from the side and that chin jab comes into play. So there's lots of situations. The most important thing is if you get used to talking with your hands, it's very easy to fire that off. If your hands are down by your waist, you've got a lot of reaction time with which you can cover, flinch or fire back. But if we're talking, if I'm pleading, if I'm afraid, it may well be that I might be offering myself for arrest. As he's focused in that area, that's where the chin jab shot comes in. So thinking in context, it might be pre-arrest, it might be on a document check, it may well be that I've just taken a punch. Bang! That shot's already come in. My body is torqued and wound up, and that allows me on the return to come in with that shot. Again, this is a shot which is safe on the hands, which is a knockout shot. It rattles the brain really well, and there is secondary damage that can be done to the eyes. There's nothing to stop you if you find yourself behind your antagonist by delivering that same momentum of shot to the back of the head. So again, it may well be that we deliver a chin jab to the back of the head or to the side of the head, but its primary usage is up front from deception, using the hip, feet and all of the mass into the shot and using the fingers to escape. In that instance, I might be doing a stun and run. Stun, run. In another instance, I might need to finish it all at very close range. Chin jab, right. So again, the context will dictate the content, whether I need to stun and run, or stone finish. In either instance, the use of your chin jab, like so, driving close range and under the jaw. And the closer you get to launching it, the harder time he has defending it. You may also throw in some other nuances, such as checking the arm. So I might check his right hand arm. So when I do the technique, I've covered where a strike or a grapple may come from. So talking, I've covered that likely striking limb, best grappling limb, most likely limb to draw or use a weapon. I've covered that nice and easy. So from conversation, and then I might use this now as a follow-up. Oh, 1, 2, nice and simple. Hyper close range, robust tool, shake the brain, damage the neck, and cause trauma to the eyes. All of that's available with your chin jab. But always be giving. Always put your hip and your foot and your mass into this powerful manner. Next module we're going to be looking at as part of period 2 is the use of boxing blows. Now it is assumed that the vast majority of people doing this curricula may have had some exposure to boxing, as it was very commonly a school-taught aspect of PE. The way we're going to be looking at the boxing is obviously with a bare-fisted mindset, which means a lot of the things that naturally live in the markers at Queensbury, lots of jabs, big power hooks, they're no longer applicable. They are fantastic and useful, and if you have trained in boxing and can use them well, absolutely do so. But for the vast majority of people, we need to look at just some simple boxing-orientated solutions. What we're going to be thinking of first is how we do blows to the throat. Vertical fists tend to do much better and be more successful in bare knuckle fist striking. The reason for that is we're far more likely to hit with our important major knuckle groups and not our door knocking knuckles. Again, we're not reaching for these shots. We don't have the benefit of long range boxing. This is about short range destruction of targets. So the first shot we're going to look at is a vertical fisted straight into the throat. So from conversation, with very little wind up, imagine if it were a knife. Again, we're driving our body weight, our hip, our foot, our shoulder, straight to where that throat may be. Now this could be from the side, boom, hit to that throat. Could be from the front, bam, hit that throat, or even from the side. But we're looking at short usage of the arm. Imagine your arm like a machine. I want as few moving parts as possible. It is a locked in piece. It doesn't articulate all over the place. From conversation, from showing documents, from wherever it may be, drive the hip, drive the foot, right into the throat. So the first boxing blow into the throat. And it could be somewhere between a straight shot with either hand or even a shortened hook-like motion. But in either way, body weight travels, hip is on target, and that vertical fist gets his way, finds a place. It finds a place. Our secondary target for bare knuckle striking is the exact same style blow, and we're aiming for the solar plexus. It's called the solar plexus, solar meaning sun, because it is a cluster of nerves that looks like a sun. It's got a central core, whitish yellowish core, lots of strands. It's a very, very sensitive area because it's nerve heavy. So again, it's in the center of the chest. And what we're looking is the exact same way that we're stabbing with the punch. Right here. Chin down at all times, foot moving towards target, hip driven into the target. And this may be what's known as a swivel punch. I've noticed the enemy this side. I'm going to start the punch even before I face him. From here. From here. It's instinctive. And you might start to make these combinations. To the solar plexus, to the neck. But in either way, at least at point of impact, we want short, sharp, shocking punches. And the final is to the groin. And this is using the uppermost part of the fist, the top of the fist. Now again, this is about a short upward swing. Again, imagine it were a knife. And here is that kind of motion, backed by the power of your hip and your footwork. You may decide to hold hold the portion of the enemy, such as I'm covering his arm here. And again, these combinations can flow. So you might go throat, solar plexus. These can all flow together. But the main thing is don't over-articulate and don't go from a long way away. There's a lot of time between here and his head. There's a lot of time for him to move, cover, flinch, fight back. This is more about we might be in a wrestle up top and I need something quick and painful. Boom, that punch to the throat. It may well be that I've been ambushed very close range and I've got to think, right, I have very limited options, but I do have, boom, a really good shot to the solar plexus. So it's short, sharp range. Vertical fist for the safety of the hand bones you've got, and there is no articulation in that pipe, whether it's foot, solar plexus, groin, and typically always using your dominant hand. This is not a Marcus Queensberry boxing match. It's the most powerful instinctive tool into a target that can break when you hit it. And this is a really important mindset to have. Only hit things that are breakable with the force, mass, and tool that you've got. These initial boxing blows allow you to do just that with a tool that is instinctive and natural. Most of us, when we're angry or afraid or in danger, these happen. We can't mitigate it. It's not as effective in most instances as an edge of hand blow. However, it is important. The use of the knee. Now, the use of the knee is really important, but we should not over-aim the weapon. It's a weapon that really hits things we can't see. When you're using a knee, you're often too close to see where the knee's going to end up. So whether it hits the groin, the bladder, inside of the thighs, into the knees, often that's just dictated by the sheer physics, weight, size, height disparity or parity you have with the enemy. The main things to think about is knees are often best served in combination with an upright distraction. So it might be a conversation up and driving the knee forward. And the knee should work as if you are walking violently. Just walk violently with the technique. So the conversation could be up. I don't have my papers, I'm surrendering. Drive forward. Or in combination with something like a chin jab. So simultaneously, chin jab and knee. The great benefit of a chin jab and knee is we're putting a bomb in the basement and a fire in the attic. You might be able to defuse the bomb, you might be able to put the fire out, but you can't do both at times. So if he slips my hand technique, he's still going to get the knee to the groin. Or if he moves his leg and doesn't take the knee to the groin, he might still get the hand technique. So the use of the knee is important. But as always, it should come with the momentum of walking towards your enemy. There's no point in trying to knee at this range. It's too far, and his reaction time will be too fast. It could be from a grapple or a wrestle. Move, knee. You just size the movement in the grapple. Move, knee, walk. Making it a knee and walk is important because you need to build into your mind, regain the balance. The last thing you want is the knee to be effective. He starts to fold over a bit, and then you end up in a tussle and landing to the ground. So psychologically, you want to build in the notion that whatever that knee hits, bosh, I'm balanced. Knee, balanced. Knee, balanced. Whether it's arm attached, boom, balance, or whether it is simultaneous with edge of hand blow and knee, chin jab and knee. Very, very important that we make sure it is a natural movement. We don't overcommit to it. It's going to cause trauma. You don't need to be over-exaggerating these movements. It is quite simply a violent walk in which you can cause damage to the pelvis area. To add to that, we can also look at the use of the elbow. Now, the elbow is a pretty simple, ubiquitous tool. Anytime we're in kneeing range, we're in elbow range. And we're just going to look at two very, very simple ones. Think of them just like the edge of hand blows. Okay? So my edge of hand blow could go outwards. From here, I could knee outwards. If he was further away, I'd edge of hand blow. Because it's a bit closer, same energy, torque of the hip, twist of the hip, he's going to go in there. If he was a bit too close at touching the shoulder, this is what I've got available. If he was further away, he'd eat that. If he's closer, he's going to eat this elbow. So really important use of the shot. And another important use of the shot is the inward style elbow. Really very important. Again, this is where you can step offline. So if we've got a side kick into the ankle and I'm already offline, I can compound that with an elbow to the jaw or the temple. So it's a really great one. Moving and wrestling, you might get that side kick in, crack those bones in the foot, and that gives you the space underneath to drive in the elbow. Don't over-rely on the elbows, because very, very quickly, elbow range becomes wrestling range. And that could be a range which is disadvantageous to you in an SOE context. You are a lot less likely to be as big, strong, young, and as robust as the enemy. They are more incidental. If I can, if there's no other room, absolutely. But don't go hungrily looking for the elbows. If they're there, I've landed the knee, I'm fine. But never chase them. But if they appear, and it's an opportunity you can take, they are a powerful, strong and robust tool. But always remember, hip, shoulder, feet and mass need to come with them too. Two final striking tools for our period 2 toolbox. First is the use of the head. Now again, this is an incidental tool, and I'll take my hat off for this. If we find ourselves in an upright, close battle, using the part of everything above my eye line is a useful part of the head. Anything near or below the eye line is very dangerous for me. It's also very important that I use the hardest bit of my head against softer parts of his face. I don't want to be clashing skull to skull, but it's quite acceptable to be targeting the jaw, the ear line, and anything in that region. But again, typically don't overcommit, because a small flinch from the enemy and you can self-concuss. If you've got the opportunity, take the opportunity, but don't be too hungry for it. If you're accosted from behind, and you've got no opinion, you might be holding something, you might be carrying something, you might be pushing a door, yeah, drive that weapon into that target. But again, with all strikes, hip, shoulder, knees, bang, cracking onto the nose, sides of the jaw, and what have you. But it is absolutely an incidental weapon. It's not a primary tool. If it's there and there's nothing better, take it. The final striking tool in this section is the use of the finger jab. Now again, you don't want the hands too tight, too close together. You want a nice, relaxed spread of the hand. And what we're looking for really here is an immediate, impulsive drive towards the eyes. Now again, this could be at slightly longer range and not letting me do the document check. Or we smash straight into the eyes. These are very rarely a man-stopping blow, but they might buy you the time and space to get off, or finish with a flurry of other blows. So again, we're looking to have relaxed hands, but with still some tension in the hand, driving towards the eye line, and you'll know that my feet back my hands. I'm not just flapping at it. There still has to be some mass delivered in these shots. It could well be that from a grab, this might be your first instinctive shot. Just the fingers towards the eyes. Yeah? It could be from the side. I sense the enemy coming. I go to the eyes, and that allows me to follow up with my ancillary blows. But striking with the fingertips, it's important to make the difference between tips and pads. Pads are what your fingerprints are taken with. They're not great. We want the very tip of the tool striking into the eyes. Whether it's from an attached area, mid-grapple, or whether it's a preemptive, stun and run, or stun and finish. It's a really powerful tool. Humans tend to react to it whether it lands or not. The idea that trauma is coming towards their eyes makes people think defensively, makes people lean back. It opens up lines of attack that otherwise might not have been available. If you attack towards the eyes, that groin area might be open, and that allows me to flow through with other techniques. So the finger jab is an amazing tool. front, from the side, from behind. I can drive that in. I don't need to over-aim it. Humans are genetically designed to find other eyes really well. If you look for other people in the dark, it'll be their eyes that catch your attention first. We are really good at instinctively knowing where they are. But have medium levels of tension, good body mechanics, and understand that it can be good far away, or even super close range. It doesn't require much power, but can cause a whole lot of trauma. Most important thing about attacking the eyes is always have a follow-up plan. The eyes have a sphincter-style muscle that closes very, very fast. The eye is very good at defending itself. I might just want a little bit of self-defense for his eye, and then use that space and time and opportunity to put an elbow, chin jab, an edge of hand blow, or anything else into the mix. Really important stuff. Like I said, the finger jab to the eye, front, from behind, from the side, from behind. All of those options are available to you. Low cost, low power, high reward, but always have a follow-up plan to finish the combat. Section 3, releases from holds. Holds in themselves aren't particularly damaging and dangerous, but what they do is add time and delay. Even the simplest of bear hugs or holds pins you in time and place, allows the alarm to be raised and for people to continue their assault on you. So they're more dangerous in the fact they take up time. Now, historically, there were simple releases to techniques. However, they take time to drill. They are grappling based. We're looking for ultra simple, ultra brutalistic, and that's why it's really important to use the striking tools you've already learned in modules 1 and 2 as your primary counter for grips and holds. So take example, a wrist grip is taken. Now, this is not so dangerous into itself. You know what, if there's a strike coming, it's coming from that hand or that head. That's a predictable thing. The main problem is this holds me in time and space, which allows others to come. Anytime I might try and grapple against this is time where I require strength and leg bridge and skill. However, if I drop in that eye jab, that edge of hand blow, drop in that chin jab and knee, I don't need to worry about this tool. There is no attack coming from this side. The attack is coming from here. All I want to do is get there first. Drive in with an edge of hand, drive in with a finger jab. I might even decide, actually, I'm going to step and drive in with the edge of the foot. All of those things are available to you and are much more ballistic and fast. If I can release that grip just by firing to the eyes, why would I waste the time in the grapple or the anti-grapple? It's not a necessary tool. Same as if both hands are taken. Obviously, I've got tools that are no longer available to me, but I've got tools which are. I could think of fancy anti-grappling ways to deal with it. However, I've got great options. I can, of course, drive in with the head. I can drive in with the elbow. I've got the simple option of any of the kicks, be they to the knee, to the side of the ankle. I've got these options available to me. And again, the idea of push-pull mechanics, that if I pull a little bit, he's likely to pull himself. So if I resist a little, he's going to draw me in, and that might be where I drive the fingertips into the eyes. The last thing I want to be doing is wrestling about with these arms. This takes time and space and requires grappling skills to deal with, which are perishable and require a lot of work. In this, we know that if we're assaulted, if we're gripped in any way, we need to be on balance and be aggressive. Pull, kick, stomp, headbutt. All of these things are a lot more important than you getting yourself into a prolonged grapple, a prolonged wrestle. If there is a one-handed choke that comes in, these are only really dangerous if there is a wall or a floor behind me. If there's not a wall or floor behind me, just move backwards faster than they move forwards. It's not rocket science stuff. However, if I do need to deal with it, again, if I focus too much on this, it requires levels of grappling skill. However, if I start to think, eye jab, chin jab. I might start to turn a little bit, edge of hand blow into that shot. It may well be that I decide actually I'm going to boot into that shin. I'm going to drive that knee in. I don't need to over worry about this. A front on air choke takes time to come into play. Same rules apply, however, whether you're assaulting or being assaulted, chin down at all times is always going to be your best friend. So if in that, chin down and smash to the eyes, chin jab to the jaw. What we're worried about is that strike coming in. We just want to be there first. If we're there first, we don't need to worry about it. If we linger, no matter what we do, you're going to eat something, and that could be the one thing that puts you out, potentially kills you. So immediately, you want to be like a hot plate. As soon as that grip's on, straight on there. Instinctive and reactive. It's on there. Just be there first. Chin jab, eye jab, edge of hand blow, boot to the knee. All of these things are helpful to you. And it's the same with two. Two hands on the throat. Again, while two hands are occupied here, I've got two hands. And the great thing about choke or strangle is if you're in arm's reach, I'm in arm's reach. It's nice and simple. Yeah? And if his arms are fully extended, it's the easiest thing in the world to remove from. Strength requires a level of proximity. And again, from here, our hands begging, our chin's down, fingers to the eyes, chin jab over the jaw, kicks and stomps to the knees, following. Again, all these things should cascade. You're not relying on, I'll just kick him in the knee. It's kick him in the knee to drop him 1/4 of an inch to get a chin jab. That might buy you fingertips to the eyes. That might buy you edge of hand blow to the neck. Which might buy you a final chin jab to the back of the head. Each thing gives you a down payment on success. It should feel like a flurry of vicious strikes. And don't waste your time flailing. There's no point flailing at this for things that aren't going to immediately put them out. Drop your chin onto that eyeball. That's going to be a telling response to that grapple. So yes, learn wrestling, learn grappling, learn judo, learn these things, learn your jiu-jitsu. But in the short term that you've got to train, knowing that the hand that's holding you is not striking you, and the hand that's holding you is typically looking to pin and cause concussive damage, or pin and restrain. You can use that second hesitancy to drive a really good tool into a vulnerable, breakable and damaging target. Period 3, crowd fighting. Life is unfair and there is no Marcus at Queensberry rules here. It is very likely that as an agent in occupied Europe, you will be in smaller teams or even often by yourself. However, those same rules don't apply to your enemy that may come in mob-handed. There are certain things that will help you thrive and survive in a multiple attacker scenario. We're going to treat Craig's actual head and each of these mitts as an individual opponent for now. So we get the idea of potentially 3 target areas. The most important thing to remember is if I stay still for any moment in time, I am likely to be struck. The best way to think of it is in metronomic beats and do something called metronomic hitting. If this is a head, and that's a head, and this is a head, each one should have a beat. Tick, 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 tick. If I spend more than 2 ticks looking at one enemy, tick, tick, I'm going to eat an assault from either party. All of the parties I'm fighting should feel recognised and seen. It's like a driving test. It's not good enough to know you can see in the mirrors. The instructor needs to see that you're looking in the mirrors. So if I'm dealing with multiples, you may be backing away, you may be moving, but your head is looking face, 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 face. Never more than 1 beat. Never get greedy. Greediness is what kills people in multiple attacker scenarios. So if we imagine, for example, I'm constantly moving, and I'll break this down to be viewable. If I land an edge of hand blow to the neck of assailant 1, I can't then finish this with a flurry, because I'll be attacked by assailants 2 and 3. It's very important that if I can pull that off, myself will move. So it may well be, again, stepping and moving, edge of hand blow, step, finger jab, step, chin jab, moving out. An important prospect is soft knees. Soft knees really matter. If you've got stiff knees, you're too high, you won't be able to move fast enough. If you're too low and grounded in a grappling orientated fashion, you won't be able to move fast enough. There should be flex in those knees so that I can, whilst moving, hit and move, and hit and move, and hit and move, hit and move. Never be more than one beat at any time. And that's why the techniques need to be fast. Finger jab and move. Edge of hand blow and move. Chin jab and move. And if I commit to a grapple against one, I'm going to be attacked by 2 and 3. So everything must be fast and robust. Fingers to the eyes, always moving. Soft knees, always moving. Edge of hand blow, always moving. Finger jab, always moving. Chin jab, always moving. Kick, always moving. Finger jab, always moving. Those soft, supple knees allow you to move through targets. It's very unlikely you'll be able to comfortably finish multiple opponents. The best you're often looking for is to stun and run, or stun and acquire an equalising weapon. If I can get finger jab to chair, finger jab to accessing a firearm, I've got a lot better chances. You're very unlikely to win against multiple assailants, even if you're bigger, stronger, better skilled. You'll be swarmed in bodies. The constant movement's important. Never allow yourself to be gripped. If we take this off. If I have any type of grip here, I'm stuck in time and place. And assailants 2 and 3 are going to smash you up. So that's why I can't have counter grappling against these things. I need ballistic, damaging things and be immediately on the move. As soon as that weapon has taken effect, I need to be on my bike again, either escaping to an exit, towards a weapon, or to the next enemy. So, to recap, soft knees. Chin down. Chin down is very important because now I can't see who might be attacking me. There could be attackers behind me. That chin down keeps you a lot safer. Not too low, not too high. And not being greedy. Remember the metronome. Tick, 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 tick. They need to be seen and to know they've been seen. Hit and move. And hit and move. And hit and move. Hit and move. And hit and move. Never overcommit and never be so greedy that you try and finish with a barrage of strikes. You will not have the time to extricate yourself before all these shots come into play. Soft knees, spatial awareness, constant movement, and when you do hit, put some beans in it. And if I'm taking that shot to the eyes, I want to make sure I rupture something. If I'm soft knees and chop into the neck, I want to break something because I can't afford multiple hits. So what does hit has to take effect. Constant movement, soft knees, being visually aware, chin down, building in those techniques, not being too greedy with what you do is really very important. You can start to build that out with multiple partners, multiple pad works. The core drill we do to test this is called the mad half minute. Surrounding yourself with dummies, training partners, a mix of the two. How much movement and carnage can I cause in half a minute? It needs to be like a big go button has gone, boom, and you are a whirling dervish of eye jabs, chin jabs, edge of hand blows, kicks, knees, elbows, everything hits and moves, hits and moves. That is the key to survival in crowd fighting. Hitting and moving, chin being down, not sticking, not overcommitting, but short, sharp, powerful, staccato techniques. One and done, one and done, one and done. Always moving and allowing those knees to give you the power and energy to get in, get out and deliver force. And that's the power of crowd fighting because it could be one of the most deadliest things you ever come across. Module 5, fighting knife. This is the Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. You can see it in its sheath here. It is a wickedly sharp, thrust orientated but cut capable tool. And we're going to be looking at some of the ways these are used. An important thing to think about is these, for special operations executive personnel, were often hidden in everyday clothing, in lapels and hems and in trousers, in boiler suits. So where you draw and how you use the blade is often predicated by where you conceal and wear it. So that is a first understanding to have. The simplest thing is if you're having to use it front on, if you have to draw the weapon head on to the enemy, the main thing is to make sure that the point is orientated to the opponent as fast as possible. What we never want is a gap between the knife arm and your body at the first draw. It is attached to your body here. If Craig holds this, if it's away from his body, we can hold this sheath as well. If it's away from his body, I can clear it and deal with him easily. If it's close to his body, that is a lot harder to deal with. I can't grapple easily, I can't strike without being stabbed. It's a very difficult weapon to clear. So our first principle is from wherever you draw it, being on balance, so your feet are ready. So normal, on balance, chin down, flexible knees, and the knife is orientated towards the enemy. It's a really important first movement, because you may be surprised. You know, Craig assaults me, immediately that weapon is brought to bear. There's very little he can do, and there's lots that I can do. So knowing that as soon as that blade clears the holster, it needs to be ready to go and on your person. Assuming that they haven't impaled themselves and there's a bit of space available. What we're now looking to do is make sure we're comfortable, typically with the knife orientated forward as a deterrent tool. And what we're looking for is ideally an effective thrust to an organ or an effective cut to an arterial pathway. So if we use Craig's human dummy, we've got arteries along the side of the neck, we've got the heart, we've got the liver, which is very vascular, we've got the arteries and veins along the inner wrists and inner elbow. We've got arteries that run on the insides of our thighs. All of these pathways are fair game. It's important to note this is a thrust-orientated tool because many people may be wearing greatcoats, have gear, bags, straps, rifles, all sorts of stuff going on. So if we can get a decent thrust, we'll often get a very good effect. What we're looking for, as soon as the knife is out, the knife should be moving. And it can be moving laterally, i.e. side to side, vertically, in figure of 8 style patterns, whatever feels comfortable for you, but there should always be a sense that the knife is in flux. And that if a hand were to come and reach for you, that can be snap cut with ease. I can easily cause that damage. So I want to make sure that I am elusive and the knife is elusive. It's important to remember that the thumb dictates power and the fingers dictate orientation. The thumb adds the drive to the tool. The fingers add the nuance where the blade goes. In an ideal world, we're looking to slash to cause a reaction. So imagine I slash towards his eyes. That causes a flinch or a movement, and in that I can then deliver a lunge. So I lunge forward, typically the blade parallel to the ground like so, and I lunge and I might take kidney, spleen, artery. It's very important that if I step and lunge, if I can retract and be safe, this is important. Because I may well have missed, or I may well have missed something important. And yet if I do stab Craig and it's not somewhere important, he can still punch, strike, use his own weapons against me and cause me untold carnage. I don't want to wait in this space. If I can, if I can slash at a hand or an eye to get a movement and take him in the neck here, I want to withdraw and see the effect of this. I don't want to linger in a dangerous place where, yes, I might have killed him, but I might be gouged, I might be cut, I may be covered in blood, which might ruin your cover story. No one's going to believe a typist or a secretary covered in blood and gore. So the ability to draw the knife and be on balance is important. To make sure that once the knife is moving, it and you stay moving. If anything comes towards your hand, it gets sliced and cut. If nothing comes towards you, I still might be slashing towards the eyes, be it horizontal, be it vertical. As soon as I get a reaction, if I get a cut, great. If I don't, doesn't matter. If I see an opportunity for a lunging thrust, take it and see what's going on. There'll be some instances where you might need to close and finish. And in this instance, I might have slashed the eyes, taking a grip of the back of the neck. And this is where the arm being loose is important. A rigid arm will only puncture so far. And if he grabs my arm, it's difficult. We're in a knife wrestle here. What we're looking to do is have the arm loose. And so we're looking, holding the back of his head, nice and in close, good footwork, and we're looking to have a long arm and to attack the inner areas here, the femoral arteries. These are very difficult to defend. And if I put the sheath back on the knife, just for extra safety, if I've achieved this grip, I can drive this into the femorals. And even if he puts his arm out to stop me, because I've got a loose arm, it will curve round and get him in the guts, in the neck, or still achieve the artery. If my hand's too tight, if I don't have enough looseness, he will stop and grab it or block it. I don't want that. I want a loose arm, tight grip but loose arm, into the femorals, into the body, and driving, and finishing. This is very, very important. So if you need to finish, you might cut, thrust, achieve that grip, and drive and pump forward. Tight grip, loose arm to articulate. It's also important to remember what kind of damage are we causing. Are we cutting, which is a sharp downward cut, typically towards the hands? Are we slashing towards the eyes? Are we thrusting, which often is done without the legs? Or are we lunging, which is done with longer, more penetrative footwork, when your knee goes over your toes, you really drive this weapon in. A lunge is a great long-range tool to stun and run, or to stun and see what happens. Or is it that for all this, I need to put in the clinch, I've drawn my weapon, and I need this type of hold and use of the knife. All of these things are when the knife is out in play. As soon as that knife is out, it should be unexpected. Yes, it can cut and slash whatever comes in its way. What it wants to do is poke a hole where an artery is, or a very important organ, end its usages. Really, really important. The knife is messy. The knife, when used front on front, will make noise. There will be noise in this exchange. If you can do it by stealth, always do it by stealth. But sometimes, if you're surprised, this knife might be the one thing that keeps you alive and keeps you safe. So the face-to-face usage of the knife is in how you draw it, how you move with it, how you cut and slash with it, thrusting, lunging, holding, and stabbing. These are the primary ways in which you use the knife, face to face. Really important tool, a really powerful tool, but like I said, for the SOE, if you're using it from the front, you've probably got several steps wrong indeed. Section 6, speciality or special occasion uses of techniques. First of all, we're going to look at Sentry elimination, so Craig faces that way. This is an ideal usage of the Fairbairn Sykes knife tool. First thing to make sure that if you've decided to take this Sentry out, you've observed who might be around, who might hear, can I escape, is this absolutely necessary? But let's say I have. First thing is to make sure you've got your knife available. Don't get close and then have to fumble for that draw. If I know I'm going to use the knife from here, I may as well, because if Craig turns around rapid, if he hears that, I need to be on straight away. If I haven't drawn it yet, and I break that twig, and he turns, very bad news for me. So we're going to look at stalking first. Low level profile. Side of the foot on the ground first. Side of the foot and then flat. Side of the foot and then flat. What we're looking to do is strike with the forearm of the left hand into the throat. And at the same time driving the knife into the kidney. This causes trauma to the throat, makes it difficult for him to shout out, and causes massive pain and catastrophic damage here. This, for very many people, will put them out the game. So it's a simultaneous stalk, inner forearm to the throat, bang, stab to the kidney. Then what we're looking to do is grab the mouth and the nose. Tilt the head, drive the blade in and punch it out. And if we can get artery, and windpipe, we've got the Holy Trinity. Covering the nose is important. If I don't cover Craig's nose and he makes a noise, make a noise. Comes through. The sound exits through his nose. If I cover mouth and nose, it's very difficult for Craig to make an audible sound. So that one bit of carelessness, I've covered the mouth only, or I've covered mouth and nose, could be the difference between discovery and stealth. Really important. So again, having our weapon drawn, being low to the skyline, being aware at all times, stab into the kidney and chop into the throat, cover the mouth and nose, turn into the throat and down. And it may well be that Craig starts to drop down. That's fine. Again, making sure you cover that mouth and nose, make sure you've taken out that throat, and also making sure that these hands don't operate or move to weapons or do any other things we don't want them to do. You'll note that whilst my knee is down, my toes are on the floor, so I can keep scanning the environment. I'm low to the skyline. When I need to exit, I can do so easily. So this is the usage of the knife in a Sentry elimination context. Height, weight, size, backpacks, clothing, all dictate different strategies. You might not have access to that flow. So another example might be a stab to the kidney and then bringing the knife around to stab in to the front of the body once or multiple times. This may well be because I just cannot, via greatcoat, scarf, type of helmet, access where I want to. So again, of course, the shock and damage, I've gone around and stabbed into the front. The soldiers historically, unlike today, had very little on their front. Most of their stuff was carried on their waist and on their back, which makes this a brilliant area to reach round. If I was shorter than Craig, I could still achieve these shots. I might struggle to get up top. So that's another usage of that blade. You must always judge based on what they're wearing, your size, their size. Are they elevated? Are you elevated? The ground, the clothing, all of these things dictate how you might use the blade and what other techniques you might use. But your simplest are stalking, kidney and throat, mouth and nose, and take it out or around the front, like so. Now, if we don't have that weapon available to us, and we wish to do a Sentry elimination, I'm going to do this side by side with Craig. I'm going to step back a little bit. And we'll do this super slow. The SOE/Fairbairn syllabus recommended this head hold, which is what we know today as a bulldog style choke. What this requires is using the hard inner part of the forearm. We sneak up on our adversary and we strike around the neck and the side of the head with this inner part of our forearm, culminating in a headlock. What we're going to do, we're going to be very careful. We're going to imagine that this momentum has led us down to the ground. So I've got Craig. We'll all reorientate so you can see from the camera. We'll face towards you. We've achieved this headlock. My legs sit forward, which I'm not going to do because I'm much heavier than Craig's neck can probably take. But my legs sit forward as I lean back. So what we're looking for from this headlock position is to put our legs forward, use all of our weight and energy to crack this neck. So if we repeat that super slow. We've snuck up from behind the other side and we've hit really hard around the back or side of the head. And we're going to finish this by dropping with a headlock forward. Your feet go ahead and you lean back, putting all the pressure on the back of the neck. It's an upward, sharp snap. A really powerful and damaging tool. And this is a key way in which we can, in an unarmed fashion, deal with a Sentry. The benefits are it takes you off the skyline really fast. It is ballistic. You can get a great knockout just from that first shot alone, but it puts them and you low and allows you to put all your weight into cracking that neck and causing some damage. So that's the unarmed variant of the Sentry elimination, what we today call the bulldog choke. This Sentry elimination is if the enemy is seated at their desk, on their phone, typing away, doing all that sort of stuff. It's called the spinal dislocator. Again, with stealth from behind, with your left hand, we're cupping under the jaw. And we're driving our right armpit behind the head. With our left hand on their shoulder, we're going to close up all the space and we're going to lean back and crack at that neck. It's really important that we're very careful in this because it's a loop and pop. It is a ballistic snapping of the neck. So again, we're hitting under the chin and immediately wrapping over. Making sure we push down on the shoulder as we get our hands together. What we're then doing is leaning back with our body weight, causing that neck to crack. It's really important that we make sure our body weight does a lot of the heavy lifting, not our arms. Our body weight causes that snap to happen. And this is done ballistically at speed. Hip, wrap down and snap. This is Sykes spinal dislocator. You can do it ballistically on a dummy, but very carefully on a human being. Special occasions, pistol disarms. Now, it's very likely that only a fool will hold you up at pistol point at a range that's within hand's reach. But you've got to imagine that in a World War II context, there's lots of people that have very little training, thrown into the job, and there's a lot of emotional turmoil and stress. So the more we can communicate at this point and be calm and steady is very important. If we make a sudden move and we're not wise, we could end up being shot. And this is not great news. There's two core methods for this. Both require the hands to be in proximity to the gun. What we don't want is our hands to be too far away. It's too obvious a movement. How we talk and plead and sell matters. Now, the two primary methods. The first method is that we're going to use our left hand. We're going to drive it across and move our body out of the way. We're then going to use our hand with our thumb uppermost to drive the weapon back towards the enemy, as we may knee to the groin. We may decide to discharge the pistol, or we decide to rip and tear that away. The most likely occurrence is that if we move out of the way, this is the most important thing, and turn back, if we can continue to lean and drive, will cause sufficient weakness for us to take this weapon, which we could then either clear and use as a cold weapon or any other activation. But we'll get nice and close to the camera to see. From here, move me and my body out of the way, drive this up, so I'm putting tension on the wrist, keeping the muzzle line always towards him, but driving these knees in. Yep, I could let go with a hand, but the problem is that weapon can reorientate. I want to keep pressure on, cause this damage, and then rip and tear this away if I can. Secondary method is if my right hand goes first. In this instance, again, I clear the gun and the knee. I then use the same grip, orientate it towards the enemy, and again, kneeing towards the fork. Or if you feel you can get away with it, the chin jab, the eye jab, any of the techniques. We'll do it from this side so you can see. We're talking. I clear it and me, drive it towards him, kneeing, elbowing, edge of hand, finger jab, but never getting too greedy. If I get this, I might need to reclaim. Get this, reclaim. Most important thing is the speed, surprise, and violence of action. So whether it is a knee or whether it's a knee, either way. And you must be able to get used to both sides. You never know from which angle or side you're working with. If the pistol is behind, an important tool, if the pistol touches you, you know where it's likely to be. So I know it's in his right hand right now, so I can feel where that pistol is. First instance, I'm going to turn towards him. So I'm going to try and clear my back away from the weapon. As I do so, I'm looking to wrap this arm as tightly as I can. I'm then going to use the other hand for chin jabs, for knees, for edge of hands, for eye jabs, punches to the throat, and onslaught. An onslaught must happen here so that we disarm the most important thing, his brain. So again, from the back, we felt that the weapon is here, we ballistically turn, and then deliver our violence. Chin jabs, knees, edge of hands, throat punches, and if we can achieve the weapon, great, but we want to disarm his motor functions. Really important. It could well be that I can't turn this way, and I have to turn this way. Okay? So it could be that I turn and wrap. And in this instance, I have to use an edge of hand blow into that throat. Really important tool. In fact, we'll orientate this way to be easy to see. So if I turn in, the chin jab is a great tool. If I turn out, the edge of hand blow, elbow is a great tool. Yeah? This is an inferior style. I've got less control over this and it could slip out. If you can operate this, you're in a much better position, a much stronger and more robust position to keep hold of the weapon. But either way, knowing which hand the weapon's being held in, even if he's pushing on my back with the other hand, yep, I still know where the danger is, which one's the hand and which one's the gun. So then I can make my decisions of whatever I'm going to do. In that instance, I went with an overhook wrap, absolutely fine. What comes out will come out. But either way, getting offline, wrapping, controlling and holding the weapon-bearing limb, and delivering strikes is what matters. But if you can, have all possible odds, if you can end up here, this is a far better position to be in, securing the weapon and causing as much damage as you possibly can. Same rules apply for disarming an armed opponent, even when it comes to a rifle. So if the rifle's held at the back, well, my options are turn, wrap, and chin jab, knee, punch to the throat, all these things. Or it may well be that I turn, wrap, edge of hand, edge of hand. Depending on how high or low the weapon is, you may decide on this outward turn. It may well come round and underneath, or it may well come to pass being round, over the top and wrapping. In either instance, the most important thing is clearing your body offline, or wrapping or underhooking the weapon-bearing limb and delivering violence of action into those strikes. Miscellaneous advice. It's really important to remember that the World War II combatives techniques are designed to flow and work together, and the combinations or the onslaughts you may deliver are going to depend on you, them, how they react, your size and their size. But I've tried to boil a few down for you so you've got a couple of nice, easy to follow flows. So, for example, if I manage to land an edge of hand blow, odds are his hands are going to go to his throat, which means a chin jab is now difficult. So we might go edge of hand blow to the throat, knee to the groin, and then a edge of hand to the back of the neck. So we are going 1, 2, 3. Eye jabs work quite nicely into chin jabs. So we may go jab to the eyes, chin jab, and knee to the groin. Eye jab, chin jab, knee. These are really, really powerful tools. Edge of hand blows work really nicely together. So it may well be, as a costume from the side, I might do 1, 2, 3. Really powerful. That machine gun style effect. Often the first ones are a bit shorter range. That buys me a bit of space. That buys me a lot of space. If it's too much space now, I'm not going to overreach for it, but I might take that foot. Yeah? I've got those options. Or I might, at the second one, decide that is now a high jab and run. The boxing blows and the World War II combatives open hand blows work very nicely together too. So we may be a punch to the solar plexus, edge of hand blow to the neck, and using a chin jab to the back of the neck. Finished by a stomp to the ankle, whatever else you want to do. It may well be that we go lead punch to the throat and use that opportunity to kick to the fork using the shin or the instep. Launch it straight up. That drives him back. Oof. We fire that in. There are so many different things that can flow into one another, but bear in mind humans react. If I hit him with a chin jab up here, it's going to make it pretty difficult for me to do certain types of blows. If I hit him in the chin and he's covering his neck, that line is now covered. So I might need to then move into kicks, but once I've landed that, his attention is elsewhere, and that might buy me the gap I need for the hand tool. So bearing in mind that going high and low and high again is important. And knowing if am I after deadly targets, or am I after pacification targets? I might be after punch to the solar plexus, edge of hand to the ear or temple for a knockout. But if you wanted that to be more permanent in its damage, you might be looking at something more like a punch to the throat, chops to the neck, repeated, powerful and deadly. But like I said, never miss an opportunity to take the enemy by the neck and making it final. Really, really important. But how these things flow, from punches, knees, shin jabs, edge of hands, these all matter. All matter. Every shot can set up the next. But never be in the business of thinking it's just one and done. That onslaught might need to continue for several shots, especially if the weight, height difference is quite severe. It might need to be a very powerful, robust and violent onslaught. And that's why your mad half minute's so important. How much violence and direction and momentum can I smash into the enemy? An important note to remember is that your thumb flagged, like so, makes the edge of hand a very robust tool. Never neglect the power of distraction. So you might, for example, if I've got a hat, boom, straight into that shot. What can distract the enemy, buy me a minute of space or time or attention, and if I've got that attention, use it, whether it's with the knife, empty hand, or any other tool going. So that concludes some of the major portions of the World War II, 1943 SOE curriculum, covering unarmed, Sentry elimination, and usages of the knife. Like we said, never be foolish enough to not have a weapon, and try not to be unlucky enough to lose your weapon, have it break, or have it taken from you. Most important thing is confidence and competence. Drill, repeat, test, and trust. And by picking just a few of these techniques, the agents working in occupied Europe can keep themselves that much safer, safeguard their ideals, and get their #1 job done. But these are just some of the ways the men and women from all around the world in the SOE kept themselves safe in one of the world's most dangerous, diverse, and terrifying battlefields, using the #1 weapon, the grey matter between your ears.